I vividly remember that day, standing in my grandparents' house, back in my hometown, Cool, Karnataka. It was one of those moments you look forward to for weeks. Returning to your roots, reconnecting with family. The atmosphere was alive with the warmth of reunions, filled with laughter, and the exchange of cherished memories. But then, my grandmother asked me something in our local language, and it should have been a simple response, a word or two, but instead, I was met with silence. Not just in the room, but within myself. The words I once knew, the language that should have come naturally, felt foreign on my tongue. In that moment, a light in me diminished. A part of me felt lost. Have you ever felt like a part of yourself was slipping away and you couldn't grasp onto it, no matter how hard you tried? In today's rapidly changing world, this is something many of us experience. Understanding the idea of identity, of who we are, is increasingly becoming difficult. We live in a time where borders are fading into blurred lines. Think about it. We're constantly surrounded by a melting pot of cultures, whether it's through the music we listen to, the food we eat, or the clothes that we wear. Globalization has allowed us to dream bigger, to live out a multicultural adventure every day. Who would have thought that years ago you could wake up to a Mexican breakfast, wear a pair of jeans made in Vietnam, and end the day by enjoying a Korean film? Now, let me ask you all something. Raise your hand if you've ever binge-watched an entire Netflix series in just one weekend, thinking you'd only watch one episode. Yeah, me too. Now, isn't that just like globalization? One moment, you're dipping your toe in. The next, you're completely immersed. The world has become so accessible, so interconnected. But with this, haven't we all wondered? Where does that leave us? Who are we in a world without borders? As a child, I was captivated by the idea of distant lands. I would spend hours scrolling through Google Maps, imagining myself in the cities of Paris or the streets of Japan, dreaming of visiting these far-off lands. Globalization made that possible for me. It has given so many of us the chance to connect, to explore, and to learn from cultures so different from our own. But what happens when, in the process of exploring the world, we lose touch with where we came from? Living in Dubai, a city so alive with cultural diversity, I have first-hand experienced that shift. There's something beautiful about blending into a cosmopolitan crowd, where everyone has a story from a different corner of the globe. Yet, with every new culture I embraced, I felt an unease, a persistent thought in my mind. Was I leaving my own culture behind? And I think we've all felt it at some point. The fear that the more we become global citizens, the more we lose the essence of who we are. After all, with the constant stream of social media showing glamorous lives and perfect moments from all across the globe, it's easy to fall into the trap of comparison, feeling like we need to fit into a certain mold or lifestyle. I found myself scrolling through countless feeds, seeing friends who seem to effortlessly navigate this globalized world, while I grappled with a sense of disconnection from my own heritage. This internal struggle was challenging. I felt the weight of expectations, not just from society, but within myself. Shouldn't I be more cosmopolitan? Shouldn't I know everything about every culture? Yet, I longed for that familiarity of my roots. So after that day with my grandmother, I made a decision. I needed to reconnect. I needed to revive that part of me that felt lost in translation. Like an inner light, our sense of self can flicker and dim. But with care, it can shine again. So I began speaking more to my grandparents in our local language. And at first, it was a struggle. Words stumbled out awkwardly. Phrases came out half-formed. But guess what? Soon, it became easier. Conversations flowed. Stories were shared. And with each one, I felt a piece of myself return. Isn't it funny how the simplest things like talking in your native language can become acts of restoration? In those moments, I realized that embracing my culture wasn't about choosing between the global and the local, but in embracing both, fully and proudly. I also took a break from social media, realizing that it can distort my perception of what reality is. By disconnecting, I could focus on real-life connections with my family, my language, and my culture. I learned that I didn't need to adhere to global standards to embrace the beauty of diversity and find my own unique identity. It's easy to get swept up in the idea that to be a part of today's modern society, we need to conform, to blend in. But why should we? Why not celebrate the very things that make us different? Why not let the richness of diversity become our strength, rather than something we feel the need to dilute? My journey of rediscovery has taught me that globalization and cultural heritage don't have to be opposing forces. Diversity is not about blending in, but in standing out, together. So I ask you, in a world that's constantly pushing us to evolve, to blend in, how do we hold on to who we are? How do we navigate the global storm without losing sight of ourselves? The answer, I believe, lies in balance. Balance in realizing that we are all part of something bigger, yet still unique in our own right, and in finding our place in this world while never forgetting where our journey began. I want you to remember this acronym: LIGHT. L, live your roots. I, illuminate diversity. G, glow through sharing. H, honor your past. And T, together let's shine. As we navigate the waves of globalization, let us embrace our inner phosphorescence, illuminating our unique identities, and reminding one another that our inner light can shine amidst the diversity of the world. My name is Aarush, and thank you for joining me on this journey of self-discovery and embracing the light within.